I'm actually a design coordinator now. I recently finished my graduate scheme with Kia. I originally worked for a company called IMechE, who were bought by Kia about a year ago, and we've now formed a part of Kia Utilities. Since joining Kia last year, I've gotten involved with a range of things. I've been the innovation lead for the utilities part of the business, because prior to that, I looked after the innovation team for IMechE. That's been amazing. We've done amazing things with like universities, Cranfield, for example, and yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed enjoyed it. Here we go. Right way. So at the ICE, we have the Graduate and Student Network. I sit on the committee as a vice chair, honorary secretary, and I also sit on the membership committee with the ICE. The Graduate and Student Network, we represent everyone that is working towards professional registration. We've had a range of names, and no one's ever happy with the name we've got, but we're still working on it. So what the GSNet comprises of is 91,000 members, and then we have the GSNet committee. And they're formed of people that sit on the IC council, panels, memberships. So all the panels that we have within the ICE, we like to have representation from sort of the graduate and student members to make sure that our voices are heard and any concerns that we have are brought to the table, and anything that was discussed is also communicated down to our members. And then we all feed into the ICE council. So this is kind of like a description, which I'm going to read word for word from our terms of reference. To represent the membership of the institution who are working towards a professional qualification in an efficient and effective manner, while encouraging and facilitating the sharing of best practice. What this basically means is that we have social meetings, we help out with the ICT and IC initiatives, we do netball matches, we do football matches, and we also have the exec committee, which drives the direction of the network for that year. So we've just started our new term. I will be looking after the membership to make sure that we get the best and we support our members where we can, ensuring they have all the resources they need and sufficient information. For example, when people are going for their professional review, we put on little working groups, there's online seminars and everything we can to support them. So this year is actually also, as well as the Year of the Engineer, it's also the ICE has turned 200. So we've also done a lot of work feeding into that. We've done a lot of tours, which is involving members of the public to also get them involved in understanding what the ICE is about and connecting with common themes, talking to teachers and parents and giving them some advice about what we are as an institution. In Northern Ireland, they did a lot of work with the young children and sort of just introducing them to engineer, and those events worked really, really well. So now I'm going to talk about myself and how I got into civil engineering. I didn't actually mean to get into civil engineering. It was like a complete, I wouldn't say accident, but I didn't do it on purpose. If you'd asked me, I was about 4 or 5, what did you want to do? I wanted to be a journalist. I was about 16 when I decided that I was going to be a civil engineer, and it was a very impulsive decision. Every Saturday, my mum and I, we would go to my grandma's house and do her shopping. But this day, I was old enough not to go with her, and I was trusted to stay there on my own and go on the internet. It was about late August 2010. I just had my GCSE results. My auntie was there, and we were discussing, what are you going to do at college, and what do you want to do with your career? I'd initially chosen for my A-levels maths, history, economics, and psychology. And in hindsight, the split doesn't make much sense. It's kind of like 2 social sciences and then like maths. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. So we discussed it, and she challenged me to study physics, because that was actually one of my favourite subjects, but I just never imagined actually doing it for an A-level. So we spoke about it, and she said, if you do physics, you can be a civil engineer. And I was just like, what's a civil engineer? And she said someone who does bridges and buildings, which is often the generic answer, because I have nothing to do with bridges, buildings, whatsoever. What I do, it's not as glamorous as this, but I literally dig holes, put stuff in it, and then close it back up. That's what we do. So yeah, a week before I started college, I decided to change my subject from psychology to physics. And in a way, this is kind of where the barriers started to kind of show up for me. I just come from a girls' school, and I've gone into a mixed sixth form. And I've ended up being the only girl in my physics class. And, I had a good class, I liked them, had a good teacher, but they had this running joke, and it happened to be about me. So if I give you an example, it's always in the same kind of circumstances. The teacher would ask a question, and everyone put their hands up, but it was one of those difficult ones where a lot of people were getting it wrong. And on the occasions where that happened and I got it right, they used to say things to me like, go back to the kitchen, or they would say, go make me a sandwich. And everyone would laugh, and I was very sassy, so I used to really snap back at them and kind of put them in their place. At the time, I didn't realise what it actually did. It was actually a massive benefit to me because it really instilled the fact that I wanted to be a civil engineer. I was able to build up my banter, which is very great when I'm on site with the guys, and also I overcome it. So there's nothing anyone could say or do that was going to change my mind about being a civil engineer. Actually, I missed out a bit, but we'll go back to that now, about that. We'll go back again. So my auntie told me about civil engineering, and I did the smart thing, which any 16-year-old girl would do, and I looked it up on Google. I don't exactly remember what Google said to me at the time, but I remember what I took from it, and I took the fact that I could tell people what to do. I'm not sure where I read that, but that was literally the selling point in me deciding to be a civil engineer. I kind of thought I was going to be an architect as well. I didn't really understand what a civil engineer was, and I thought I would earn a lot of money. It's not all false. We'll see how it goes. So I did my A-levels in physics, and I found physics incredibly difficult. I don't want to misillusion you and think that it's easy, because it really wasn't. I found it really, really hard. So much so that in my first year, I actually ended up getting an E. And if it wasn't for the fact that I got a U in economics, then I definitely would have dropped physics, and I would not be standing here in front of you today. But what a temporary failure taught me was a long-term lesson that my mum was trying to teach me, which is about work ethic. And because I did physics, I had to take mechanics as a maths module. And also, at the end of my first year, I failed that as well. Literally got a U, and again, I was the only girl in my class. But my college did this thing where, when we started back in my second year, they put on a Tuesday session to help us condense that year module into 3 months and for everyone to retake it in January. And I literally worked so hard and had the best maths teacher, and he taught me, he didn't teach me anything, well, he taught me mechanics, but I changed my U into a C from January. And what that taught me was the fact that I was in control of the results that I could expect. And from then, I basically depended on myself to push myself to achieve the best that I could. At the end of the year, I ended up getting a D in physics, but I'm really happy about that. And people are always confused, why are you happy? Because some people, a D is a failure, but not to me, because I worked so hard within the time and the resources I had. There was nothing more I could have done, and I know that deep down in my heart, I could not have got a better grade with the time and resources at the time. So I think it's very, very important to speak about why I stayed in civil engineering, because it's really easy to go into another profession. They say that engineers are better at finance than people who actually study finance, and investment banking's got a lot of money in it. But the thing is about civil engineering is I get to see the impact of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Whether that's some of the projects I've worked on myself or not. For example, we benefit societies. We improve the way that people live, and I like to take pride in that. Whether that's building a new water main on behalf of HS2, or if that's upgrading electricity supply to rural communities in rural areas. It's great. It's a great industry. It's different to sort of, very mundane. Never get a same project. You can go from, for example, this morning I was in Bedford, tomorrow I'll be in Brighton. I literally move all over the place, get to work with different people, different projects, and that kind of really helps me because I feel like I'm actually making an impact. And even in where I live in Croydon, we're working on upgrading the electricity supply to the Whitgift Centre so we can build the Westfields. And in 15 years' time, I can say I was a part of that. But again, it doesn't come without its challenges, early mornings, long days, and sometimes you get like very ego-driven people which you have to deal with. But on a day-to-day basis, I love what I do. And I also think it's important that sort of someone like me stays in engineering, especially the fact that I'm often a minority, whether that's my gender, you guys know what I'm talking about, or the fact of my age, because I do work with a lot of older people. But I actually use that to empower me, because when I was younger, I never knew what engineering was. I never met an engineer, so I had no misconceptions about what an engineer was or was supposed to be like. So the only kind of engineer that I could be was myself. I do a lot of work with young people, and I do a lot of work with schools as well. And it's not to necessarily address the skills shortage, but it's more to empower young people for them to believe that they can do whatever they want, even if they don't know anyone in the industry or they don't even understand what it is, but they can still be whoever they want to be and succeed. When I told my uncle I was going to be a civil engineer, he said to me, "Why do you want to be Bob the Builder?" And that was like a genuine answer. But my little cousin over there, she knows that I'm an engineer, and when she had to dress up, she had to like go to school but go to work day, she said that she wanted to dress up like me. So when people ask her, "Why do you want to be an engineer?" she gets to say she wants to be like me. So just to finish, I am an engineer. No, sorry. I'm me, then I'm an engineer. Thank you.